We want to go home. We do. We're all trying to go home early tonight. It's cold. It's wet. Thank you, Bilan. And I got a coffee as well. We can't turn the page. Hang on. Am I allowed to give you that? At least I've got a coffee. All right, here we go. The letters tonight are these. Sexy new camera shot. Thank you, Kelly. Courtesy of Kelly too. My daughter is 21. She's engaged to a Christian fundamentalist who wants to get married right now. Her mum writes in, how to increase my tips, please? How do I increase my tips, please? In an increasingly cashless society, we've got PayWave now and no one's flipping the coin. Last letter tonight, we've been ignored for far too long and it's a scary time to be alive. We're being taken for granted by all the politicians after we've just had an election. Julie, Nola, Neil, Clint. You haven't seen a lot of them for a long time, but they're all on the panel tonight. See you in a minute. Bye.
Got a problem, big or small, would a miracle be nice? Our motley crew is back, churning out advice. You might even laugh a bit in the following half hour. Park your backside on the couch, cause baby it's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour. It's time for Sweet and Sour. It's time for Sweet and Sour.
Your backside on the couch. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sweet and Sour. We've just had a revision of our tune with some new words. Thank you, Julie. But Gary Mitchell here with you for the next half hour. Terrific lot of panellists. You're going to meet them right now. Hello, Clint. Do you know the words to the song of Sweet and Sour?
I do now.
What did you say, Julie?
Nola's got some interesting choice
Yes,
words
she
as
does.
well. Oh my God. How are you, sir? Nice to have you here, mate.
Glad to be
It's
back,
been a
mate.
while.
It's been ages. Been ages.
How's the optometry business
Yeah,
going?
good.
All
Really
right?
good. Yes.
All right. Are
All
we
good.
still at the same place?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Oh, very good.
We'll be there for a while, I think.
Good to hear. Nola,
Hello.
international traveller.
I know.
Where have you been?
Well, we went to see the Northern Lights, which we didn't see, and then
You
we
didn't.
went,
You went to the Northern Lights, but you didn't see.
they were shining, biggest solar flare in 10 years.
However,
Saw them in Albany and Busselton, the Australis, and then up there, but yes, it was so thickly covered in cloud in the Lapland.
so you went to the Northern Hemisphere. You went to Lapland, and they were looking
And
at
above all those clouds, it was going nuts, but we get to see it.
Aurora Borealis up
Yeah,
there.
going nuts.
Aurora Australis
Australis
down
down
here.
there.
They were watching them down here, and you couldn't see anything up there
People
because of the
had flown
cloud
over
cover.
from England, and their neighbours were saying, "Oh, we're seeing them out our back window."
You know what they say? Bad luck.
It was bad luck.
That's it.
But, and then Italy, and then Croatia. Yeah, it was 3 months with my buddy over there.
You went too.
I did. We had a great time. Came back with. I propped up the wine industry in Italy for 3 months.
She did.
That's why the euro's going through the roof
Hence
now,
the
right?
reason I'm now on the wagon.
I've got a question for you. Why did you come back in our winter?
It's a very good question, and I can't
Yes.
answer it.
Yeah, we
Stupid.
recount those things after a while, don't we? Where are you going, Neil?
Me?
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very
Neil
much.
was here
Ian.
last week.
Hi all. I'm staying put.
Staying put?
Yep.
Why
That's
not?
what happens when you have a 2-year-old daughter.
You have an American wife though. Isn't she anxious to disappear?
We've just come back actually.
Ah, there's the story.
There's
You've just
the
come
story.
back.
We've just come back from
Where'd you go?
Disney World in Florida, and it was just about the time that all the interesting events in Florida happened. But I highly recommend Disney World on a bucket list. It's fantastic.
Done that. Tick that off. Dear panellists, my daughter is 21. She's engaged to a Christian fundamentalist who wants to get married now. If I was to wind back the clock to the 1970s, I'm sure I'd be overjoyed. In 2016, I am, however, simply not, because she is far too young, far younger than I was when I was her age, if you get my meaning. Her fiancé is 30 years old and has never had a sexual experience. How would she know? His religion prohibits sex before marriage. As I see it, despite him saying things like, I'm needing to do the correct thing, the right thing here is for the two of them to gain some worldly experience before they even consider getting married. I know my daughter. She constantly takes up interests and drops them when she's bored. She's done similarly with boyfriends, but she's never had someone of his age or someone who wants to marry her before. She's gaga-eyed and looking through rose-coloured glasses. I just want her to live with this chap for a while so she can experience the full responsibility of partnership. I'm sure my daughter will eventually ruin this man's faith, excuse me, as he also doesn't believe in divorce. Yet, that's where she will lead him. Please, panel, what do I do here to prevent a wretched situation? It comes to us from Janine of Mile End in South Australia. Ugh. Christian fundamentalists in South Australia want to get
Fine.
married.
Janine, good luck.
Yeah.
You really can't do much about this. I'm concerned that he's 30 and without any experience as well, and your daughter's seeing him as possibly the father figure that she's chasing. But at the same time, having a daughter as well, you've got to understand that you've got to feel comfortable that you've raised your daughter well, and that you've got to impart some trust in her, and that the way she's been raised will mean that she can actually take this relationship on and deal with it. But at least, as I said earlier, at least she's off the street for about 10 years.
10 years at the outside. Any hope for this one?
Well, I think the more that you rail against it, the worse it's going to be. And you're just going to push your daughter straight into this guy's arms. I think you should embrace him and just say how wonderful he is and bring him into the family and, oh, what a great guy. And the more you like him and the more you accept the situation, the more she'll kind of start to back off. It's kind of reverse psychology. It's worked with my kids sometimes. But the last thing you should be doing is telling her not to do it, because that'll have the complete opposite effect.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, Nola,
Well,
Any hope?
she sounds a very negative mum, doesn't she?
this woman hasn't
Very
been asked
negative.
for her advice
No,
either, by the
she's
way.
a very negative mother by the sounds of it. Because your daughter might be so truly, madly, deeply in love. I know I'm a celebrant and I have a little romantic nature, but she might be truly, madly, deeply in love, having a 30-year-old man who says he hasn't had any sexual experience, but I'm sure he has had some, or even
Why
read
would that
about
be
it.
a conversation topic with your mother-in-law?
I know. Well, an older man with a younger girl could be a good thing.
Maybe it's just a presumption because he's a Christian fundamentalist.
Yeah, because Christians
And-
don't have sex. Oh, really?
Yeah,
There we
they
go.
do.
Yes, that's right, they do. And they're allowed to, aren't they?
Once they get married.
Aren't
or once
they
they
allowed
get
to
engaged.
before? Aren't they
Okay,
allowed to
something
before?
like that.
Everybody does it. I mean, Mary didn't she, before? Oh no, she didn't actually do it at all, did she?
She had sex with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
No,
well,
she
anyway,
just
I think
had-
the mother's very negative. We
don't
won't
know.
even go to the religion part of it, hey? So I think you're just being very negative. Let her go. Let her get married. It's her journey. It's her time. You had yours. Now it's hers. Let
She's
her go.
Clint,
Let her
she's
fly.
allowed to make her own mistakes. Life is nothing but a learning experience. Sure.
That's exactly right. And Janine, you're actually saying your last sentence here. What do I do to prevent a wretched situation? You stay out of it. You let your children make their own decisions. All I can see here is I want this, I think that, I feel this. It's not your life, it's hers.
Yeah.
So just be supportive of it. If it doesn't work out, I'm sure she'll come back to you and you'll do the mum thing and comfort her. But who's to say it's not going to work out? It might be the best thing that's ever going to happen.
That's
Okay.
right.
Now an honest appraisal. How long do you give it?
15 months.
15 months over here?
I'll give it 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
15 months?
Yeah.
Over here?
Less than a year.
Less than a year?
Yeah.
I said 10, but I was serious. 2 to 3, no more.
2 to 3 what?
2 to 3 years, no
Oh, I
more.
thought-
Unless she falls
thought
pregnant.
You're talking weeks.
Unless she falls pregnant, don't fall pregnant.
So I
Hang
actually,
on.
I'm going
but
to say
that-
40 years now.
Hang on, he's a Christian fundamentalist. She's
Can't
going to fall
change it.
pregnant.
Yes, she will. So that makes it 10.
What?
So
Well,
what?
they can't use contraceptive? Are they allowed to do that?
Well, it depends how
If he hasn't had sex
fundamentalist
for
they
30
are.
years, she'll look at it and get pregnant.
Is it against their religion?
I've looked at some
Dunno.
of them pregnant.
Don't know, some of them have been, you know.
Fundamentalists do
Catholics
want to
haven't been able to use-
propagate
Yeah,
as
but
much as you
Catholic's
can.
different. It's a different religion.
Well, it depends how fundamentalist you are, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know enough about it, so I don't know.
Nor me. See,
But
we're,
it's
we're
doing-
chatting on things that we don't even know.
My
What we're
religion's
saying.
love,
Your religion is love.
Oh, that's nice.
freedom.
That's just dangerous. When we come back, we're going to be talking about
What
tips,
type of love do you love?
which Ola's going to give us during the break.
No, that's tears.
Right. I didn't say, good on you, Clint. All right. When we come back, sweet and sour, don't go away.
It kind of would melt my mouth when I'm on TV.
Getting in touch with Sweet and Sour is easy. Just head to sweetandsour.net.au to send us a letter. And while you're there, why not check out our past episodes? Plus, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And for a behind-the-scenes look at Sweet and Sour, check us out on Instagram.
And for everyone who does send us a letter, we're going to send you to the movies, courtesy of our very gorgeous Natalie Cameron and NRC Communications. And the movie we're sending you to this week is Love and
Friendship, love and friendship
Goes Together Like a...
poison.
There you go. Thank you. Panellists, here we go. Hi, Sweet and Sour. How do I increase my tips, please?
Sorry?
Tips. PS. I'm working my way through university doing a commerce law degree, and at nights and weekends I wait tables. There's almost no time left to study, but I've still got to eat and pay rent, so for the past 2 years I've been a waiter. Here's the big deal. The bloody banks introduced pay waves, so now an even fewer number of patrons are using cash. It's becoming harder and harder for people to leave a tip for the staff. It means that my income has steadily declined in the last 2 years, and it's only my long-term customers now who are already in the habit of tipping separately in cash who continue to do so. We're not really a tipping country like the US anyway, but now we're even less so. Taxi drivers must also be feeling the same, especially with Uber as well. Could I please appeal to everyone to go to the auto tellers first so they can pay in cash when eating at a restaurant? How else could I possibly hope to attract my very badly needed tips? And how long do you think cash will still be around? Campbell of Williamstown in Victoria. Campbell sounds like a Scotsman and he's needing his tips, Clint. What do you say to him?
Look, Campbell, I don't want to be a jerk to you, mate, but we're in Australia and we've never really been a tipping country.
He acknowledges that, though.
So you probably shouldn't expect it. However, you do make a good point about no one having cash anymore. That actually does irk me a little bit. I quite like people having cash. The pay wave and stuff actually takes longer sometimes, I think. Like if I've been at, let's say, parking meters. And
Me too, you're right.
And I mean, you've got a couple of coins in your thing and you can just chuck it in or whatever. You sometimes stand there for hours waiting for people to figure out how to use
Trying
the
to work
thing,
it
or
out.
credit, savings, whatever. Even buying milk, I've been behind people at the shops buying milk and their card doesn't work. Actually, no, I'll put it on this one instead. Just
It's
give
not a
someone
quick
$2.
convenience.
Driving
know?
you nuts.
Yeah, it's not as quick as what I think people think that
agreed.
it is. So I mean, I reckon you make a really good point about that. Look, in terms of the tipping side of it, we're not really a country that tips. However, maybe we should go back to a country that does maybe start to tip a little bit, a bit like the
Exceptional
older
service.
days type things. That's right.
Exceptional
Because
service.
their
That's what
wages
it'll
need to
take
go
to
down.
increase the
I
tips.
don't for exceptional service. I don't agree with it at all. We get a very good hourly rate in our hospitality world here. They only get
Compared to what
they
they
get
get in
$4 and
the
$6
States.
and $8 an hour over there. You know, we
Yeah.
get $25
That's
an
right.
hour here, so that's a little different. I think you're a bit of a whinger, really. You know, I don't really want to follow America with everything we do. Money will become obsolete. We won't use money one day. We hardly use it now.
No.
It's just numbers on a computer now, isn't it? It really has no value. Cash has no value.
So what does he do to increase his tips?
I think he's got to be exceptionally good. Be exceptionally good, Campbell, and stop, whinging. Somebody get a ambulance. Just let it go. Let it go.
Are you a tipper, Julie?
I am a tipper for very good service, and Nola tells me my husband tips everybody.
How
and if they're
come
crap,
Nolan knows that and you don't?
I don't know.
Because he pays. So we're up with him paying.
And he's always tipping.
splitting
Well,
the bill. Yeah, he always
well, anyway, he obviously
Generous
likes
soul.
tipping, so
Very
you need to
generous
get him
soul.
in your restaurant. With the pay wave thing, I'm not sure. Clint, you might be able to, because you seem to know all about this. I think it's over $100. It's got to be under $100.
Under 100.
Now, I don't know where you work, but I don't go anywhere where it's under $100.
Not in this
to be
country.
quite honest. I mean, if
They'll
you go
get
to
you.
a local pub and have a meal and a beer, it's $100, for a couple. So, it's 100, under 100 or over 100 you can't. So I would imagine that there would be situations, a lot of situations, where you actually can get someone to include a tip, but you've got to be really good. And as Nola says, you're earning a bloody good hourly rate anyway, so just get over yourself.
Neil,
Well-
do you tip?
No, I don't, and I have an American wife, which makes it really interesting.
Does she want to tip when she goes out?
She desperately wanted to tip, but I've managed to break her. And it's basically proving that the wages are high enough here. Now, what she has actually found out, because we had this great debate over this, was that actually a tipping culture and the low wages in America has actually forced wages down.
Yeah.
That's why they're fighting for a minimum wage, and half of them are not getting it.
How did it force wages down?
Because if there's tips, they're saying, well, you don't need to get a wage.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening.
And,
that's
and,
exactly
and,
right.
and when I've just
It's
come
bad.
back from the States where they're expecting 20% as a tip. Now
And they
that's
ask for
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy.
that's ridiculous.
They ask for it,
Added
don't they?
to,
You
added
pay.
to your bill.
Yeah.
And some places here, they've already added it to your bill as well.
Yeah, no, the wages are high enough in Australia. That's what we fought for. We want to become more competitive. We have to drop our wages and encourage people to tip. No, I'm not all for that at all.
So the short answer is don't expect tips when they come your way.
Well,
It's
I
a bonus.
do have a
Be
suggestion.
grateful.
One quick suggestion: you could wear a badge that says "tipping makes you more attractive." I have seen that work.
Yeah, very clever. When we come back, we're going to be asking the question whether people are being taken for granted by our politicians, by our pollsters, by our big corporations, and so on and so on. When we come back, more of Sweet and Sour. See you soon. Are we being taken for granted?
Sweet and sour, half an hour. Feel the power. Don't be dour.
Time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
You read it.
The Queen apparently likes Game of Thrones. So do I. So do a lot of us on the panel. Dear Mitchin, what language?
Italian.
What is it again?
That's what I have to spin. Il trono di spade.
Well, that's good.
Dear Mitchin panel. We just had a pathetic Australian election result. We also just had Brexit realised, and we are potentially about to have President Trump.
Woohoo!
It's clear to me that politicians all around the world aren't listening and the people are fighting back. Huh, is that what you make out of President Trump? We've been ignored for far too long. We, the people, have been taken for granted by politicians and corporations for far too long. And look at the pollsters. Every single one said Brexit would not happen. Turnbull would have a governable majority, which he's finished up having, but it took a long time to work out. Trump would not be in the race at this point. And going back to the last British parliamentary elections, David Cameron was to be wiped out. Wrong on every count, going as far back to Jeff Kennett's Victorian electoral loss years ago.
Sorry.
The polls aren't to be believed anymore because they are being commissioned and paid for by bigger interests. We've had enough. And now it's time the real people who listen and represent the overwhelming majority, like Pauline Hanson, rise up. Look out, you politicians with the backing of the big corporations. Look out, big corporations, newspaper barons and bankers. I don't like Turnbull nor Shorten, and most of these people are focused on building their own career by building the respective political institutions they represent rather than looking after the people. It's a scary time to be alive, but it's also exciting, as Malcolm Turnbull says, as the people are claiming back their rights and resources. What say the panellists? Kevin of Glendalough in WA. Julie, you're first up on
Oh,
this.
great.
What say the
Politics.
panellists? Where are we?
Well, I'm not quite sure what
Do you
Kevin's
feel like you're
asking
being
us.
taken for granted?
Well, not really, but if he's saying that this is an exciting time to be alive, I think it's a bloody scary time to be alive. We've got this megalomaniac with terrible hair about to become the leader of the Western world. Brexit has the pound's plummeted, the share market is all
Yeah,
over the place. It's a
economically, we're all over the
disaster.
place.
If they all start leaving the EU, God, what's going to
they will,
happen?
it'll be like
And he's saying we're claiming back our rights. Is this a good thing? Is this what happens when that happens? I'm not sure. I think it's awful what's happening in the world right now.
You don't have to
It's
claim them
scary.
back. You've got them already.
But
Whether
he's
you've
saying
taken
this is
them
what
up.
we're doing. You know, we're claiming back our rights and we've got Pauline Hanson back and we're going to have Donald Trump and we've left
Pauline
the
Hanson
EU.
only got that much of the vote.
Oh. Hey,
Pauline Hanson got that much of the vote.
she's still there though. And she might have that much, but she
Good
talks a lot.
representation of the people.
She's loud.
That much?
She doesn't talk very well either.
She
Who
doesn't.
doesn't talk very well?
Pauline.
Pauline. What is
So
she?
what?
A commission.
I know, but
a royal
So what?
commission into
It's-
Islam. That's a
it's-
beauty.
It's the views that you have to
I love
argue
it.
against, not how well a
She's
person
very
can speak.
funny.
She is funny.
It's delightfully
She's actually
funny.
good for comedians.
She's great
She's
for comedians.
fabulous
I don't
for
like
comedians.
what she says.
She's not very clever.
But I won't criticise her inability to articulate to the level that everybody demands now.
Oh,
of
no, she has a
politicians.
right to speak.
She has a right to
Absolutely,
speak.
she does.
Yes, I
Freedom
That's
of
the wonderful
speech
thing
now
about
is
our
a
country.
really good thing.
And we have a right not to listen.
Of course,
Yeah.
or debate her down.
And debate.
But there's too many people now in the sort of the left-wing media at the moment who are sort of trying to shout you down rather than, debate you.
Left-wing media. What does the right-wing media do?
They do right-wing things. You know what I'm saying.
And the Bolt shouts you down.
Yeah, Bolt.
And who else shouts you down? Anybody else?
What I'm saying is that there is a predominant in the news side of things of a left-wing slant. If you look
I
at-
don't believe that.
I think there is.
I don't believe that at all.
Look at Q&A.
What about Q&A?
Well, that couldn't. You
They
couldn't
would have
watch
taken
that.
it off by now. There's
No,
so
they-
much. Every single party that gets into office accuses Q&A of actually doing things, because it's the same with the newspapers. The newspapers are actually seen as against the government of the day, whoever they are. Well, some do have an editorial bias because that's the way the proprietor decides that that's the way we'll go. And that's the sort of thing you have to rally against. But I don't think there's, in the main, that sort of bias that we are given to believe in conversation. The left wing have control of the ABC. I don't know. I don't think so.
But I'm allowed to disagree with you.
Okay, but
and I have the
side.
right to be able to disagree
Absolutely.
with you.
Okay,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Q&A, what does Q&A do? That's a sweeping statement about
What
Q&A.
does it do? It is a ABC program, and it does appear from time to time to have a bit of a left-wing bias. I could be debated on that. and
How
I
does
don't
it
mind
have a
being
left-wing
debated.
bias when it invites both sides on?
I agree with that's a great way of putting it. But if you have a look at the way the questions are phrased, or some of the gotcha moments where they actually have studio members phrasing certain
bias.
questions to actually try and
Clint,
nail the right people.
What do
for
you
the
say,
right
Clint?
topic.
Is the ABC biased? Are we
I
reclaiming?
don't watch the ABC.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Because that bores me as much as politics. I was just nuzzled into Nola sleeping before when
Because this
was
letter
being-
would bore
was
you
being-
as well.
Yeah, I probably should take more of an interest, but I just can't because I don't think anything that we do or say really changes it that much. They're going to do what they want to do amongst
There's a
themselves.
whole other agenda.
There's
isn't
a whole
there, that
other
we don't
agenda.
know
There's a whole other
anything
things
about?
Nola
happening.
thinks the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this Kevin, you've got some good opinions here, mate, and you're allowed to have them. But we've just had a pathetic Australian election result. Well, says who? I actually think it was a great election because everyone had an opinion this time. I think.
Yes.
I think that this one was one of the more memorable elections. I mean, even me and my mates who don't like politics and things, everyone had a clear view. I'm voting for this because of this. I'm voting for this because of this, and that showed by the time that it took for the polls to actually come up with the result, how close it was. I think that's a good thing.
Nola, you've already told us that you...
Well, yeah, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, really, with all this sort of stuff. I do believe the powers are just pulling all the strings, and we all think we've got a say, and we all think we've got a democracy, and we all think... But
You really like this letter, don't you?
well, I just don't think we, And then you've got, even beautiful Barack, who's standing there going, vote
Beautiful.
Hillary, a criminal, when you think about Snowden and Assange and her with her little
Is this
emails
going?
from home,
We've got conspiracy
do they-
theorists on the panel tonight. Do you like this letter to give away the pair of limited edition studies?
Do I get to pick? Oh, that was
Well,
very
you
big, wasn't
certainly get to have a voice.
it? Okay, well,
We're not going to show the clip.
I'm
We've
going to
run
go.
over.
I'm
but
going to go number 3.
This is number 3. You like this letter?
I'm going to go number 1. Eddie, lock it in.
Number 1. Here comes the groom. All right, Clint. Which one did you like?
I'll go Campbell number 2.
Campbell number 2.
Yeah, he obviously needs some money.
Campbell the
Not
tips.
getting any tips.
Neil, which one did you like?
Well, as I'm on your left, I have the right to pick number 3.
Very good.
1, 3, 2, and 2. Coming out to number 2, which is Kevin of... No, it's not. It's Campbell, of
Campbell.
Williamtown. We've got to go. Thank you, Clint. Thank you for being here, sir.
Back.
See you again soon, yes?
Hopefully, yes, please.
Nola?
Thank you.
No trips planned?
No, well, maybe I might go to Bali next week.
Oh, me too. You going to Bali too?
Get your
On
tits out.
Friday.
Oh, Neil, where are you going?
I'm going to bed.
Thank all of our wonderful panellists. Thank our terrific crew here at the Central Institute, which is now called TAFE again, because that's what the government does. And thanks for having us at home tonight, Australia. Wave, everybody. Bye. Good night.
Good night, good
Thank
night.
you. What about that letter number 2?
What about it?
You went number 3.